Met Police say no offences have been committed after viewing footage showing Palestine supporters tearing down posters of Israeli women and children kidnapped by Hamas. So this has been happening quite a lot, hasn't it, in London? We've seen a lot on social media. People are now getting their phones out and filming pro-Palestine people taking down the posters that Jewish people or Jewish supporters have put up, usually with a photograph, and they all follow this format of a red strip at the top and the bottom. And so you know these posters, and people are just taking them down.
And their posters are, of kidnapped children.
Yeah, and each one has a specific, maybe a person or a few people from a family, and it's to remind everybody these people need to be brought home. Yeah. So it seems, that the point is they're civilians, they're innocent civilians, and they keep being taken down. And you would think that given that we live in a world where Isabel Vaughan-Spruce, the woman who's pro-life, recently was arrested for praying in her head, you'd think it would be reasonable to assume that this was kind of more serious than that. And yet the Met have said no offence has been committed.
Yeah, well, but that, Nick, I believe, is on this one specific one in Leicester Square. Actually, a friend of mine, Rich Ferrer, he's the one who actually filmed them and confronted them. Although what I don't believe they've noticed, and someone has who's translated it from Urdu, is one of the men says, "No one will be spared," which sounds somewhat ominous. And the other interesting thing is, and I'm sure you both noticed from watching this, in this particular clip, they seem very well-to-do, modern dress. They're not sort of Islamic fundamentalists seemingly on front. They seem like some young people out in central London.
Yeah, they're just sort of pro-Palestine sort of young people, as you say. Yeah, and as Cressida says, we've just seen Isabel Vaughan-Spruce again questioned by police. Are you praying for the lives of the unborn? They asked her, because she stood in the wrong part praying. And we saw the woman woman in her 70s was visited by the police for taking a photo of a gender-critical sticker. So in light of things like that, we're bound to ask about the two-tier justice system, which has become such a cliche to even talk about. But the question is, what are we going to do? If it's not a crime... If it's not a crime, it comes down to what Kemi Badenoch is talking about here, and she talks about the unwritten rule and the social contract of our country. But this is the problem. When you treat countries as just economies and you just say, let's say we can just have anyone in this country, they don't need to integrate into our values, then of course this is going to happen, because things like unwritten rules and social contracts evolve organically over hundreds of years. So of course we're going to have these kind of problems, and this is the famous failure of multiculturalism that Suella Braverman's spoken about.
I mean, there's the most shocking one that I've seen is one of these posters of these two toddlers, and they've had Hitler moustaches drawn on them. Now, I believe the Met Police are dealing with that one as a hate crime, and there's also talk of people who are here on visas, like tourist visas or student visas or whatever, if they're carrying out this kind of behaviour or showing themselves to be pro-Hamas, should be kicked out. I mean, would you agree with this, Cressida?
Yeah, totally. But it sounds like...
Yes!
I love that you had to ask as well. Brilliant.
Just checking.
I don't know. I wonder whether it's such a scary prospect for the police to try and contain this sort of thing.
Sure.
Because Isabel Vaughan-Spruce is one person, but this... And also sometimes I wonder whether the people taking down the posters, whether... I wonder how much... I don't mean to be patronising, but I wonder how much they know, and whether it was... when they're very young people...
That's a great question. To both of you, I'd just like to... Why do you think they're doing this? I mean, you can still be a human being and still have sympathy for people, for innocent people.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the crazy thing here. There's an argument that it could be because they don't want to be faced with these innocent people, who are part of what they support, have carried out, Nick.
Yeah, I've seen some people who probably have, let's say, who are immigrants doing it, but I've also seen some people who are just clearly kind of middle-class students doing it. And in their case, they're just brainwashed by the education system. So they're either radically anti-Israel or they're brainwashed into being so. It amounts to the same thing. Yeah. So that's why they're doing it. So they've lost their humanity, as we've seen in so many of these examples, and they just see it as, fair game.
I mean, that's the incredible thing, that they think that they're good people, except they're massively morally compromised.
There was one great person in the video, which was the old woman who said, "Shut up, you effing W." And she was like the absolute hero of the video.
Fag in hand.
Yeah. That's what this country was built on.
Yeah, no, absolutely.